Welcome everybody to another
hello.
episode of In Your Face. I am Perry.
I'm Remy.
And we are low energy. No, not really.
I was saying,
I know.
You seem really subdued all of a sudden.
All of a sudden. I'm not low energy, I'm high energy. Okay, so I want to start right away with a trigger warning. A trigger warning notification for those of you who have your buttons overtly presented, ready to be pushed.
Turn them off.
Turn them off, because
Okay,
we're going to
let's have an open conversation.
We're going to have an open conversation, but it's going to be potentially a triggering conversation. So, because we promised that one person who said we should have a trigger warning before our content,
and we have done so.
That's what we're doing. And I'll probably bring that up again somewhere in the middle of the show, because some people don't watch the whole show, or they come in the middle and they just miss it. So, you're fairly warned. Tonight, we're going to talk about being triggered. No, we're going to talk about passability, being passable, and we're going to talk all aspects of passability tonight, and how it relates to transgender women, and how it relates to the men who love them, and what's behind all this idea about passability.
Yes, well, we already have some folks joining in, so Troy is here, and David, and Mari, Jonathan.
Welcome, everybody, to the show. Why isn't my version of the show?
You're absolutely right. Some cis women don't pass.
Ooh, who said that?
Mari.
Mari. It is true, but damn.
I mean,
you're just taking it there already. All right, so first of all, let's talk about what passability is. Passability, well, why don't you tell them what passability is?
Passability is the perceived... The perceived...
I know.
Unclockability.
Yes.
How much like a cis or genuine woman.
Ooh, using
the words that people
I know.
use passable and who are focused on passable would use.
Yeah, right. Remember,
so
we said you might be
coming from.
Yeah, that's right. And so it's So Remy's right. And so there are many trans women whose appearance, the goal of their appearance is wrapped up in passing.
Yes.
By the way, where did the word clock come from? That just popped up on the screen in my observation. I hadn't known that clocking means.
Well, clocking is, I don't know, it's been around for a very long time.
Has it?
I don't know. Damn. Since high school for me.
Oh, really?
Back in the 90s.
Okay. Well, so, like I said, one of the major goals of many trans women, as far as I am aware, is the ability to pass or to blend in with cisgender women and to appear.
Mari puts it great. Passing as a cis woman.
That's it. Passing as a cis woman. And so there are, so obviously, maybe not obviously, see, I'm starting to show my bias already. Apparently, some men who are attracted to trans women only date women who, how did Mari say it? Who pass as a cis woman. And of course, we can speculate as to why they only date those type of trans women.
Yeah, we can speculate.
Let's speculate. So
and in some cases, it's going to be true speculation, and in some cases, it won't be.
Correct. And so,
again, nothing's a broad brush here.
That's exactly right. And so some trans-attracted men, I'll go on the positive side first. Some trans-attracted men want to date trans women who pass, because to them, to the trans-attracted man, those type of trans women are most attractive, most physically desirable according to their preferences.
Right.
Right. There are other men, trans-attracted men, who date trans women who pass because they don't care. They just happen to meet that person. She happened to be trans, and that guy didn't care that she was trans. And obviously, assuming she passed, because when he met her, he didn't know. So, right? So there's that. And then there's the trans-attracted man who only dates trans women who pass because...
He's afraid of getting clocked.
Yes! He's afraid of getting clocked! You're right! That's right. Because he is insecure about his position in society and does not want to be seen as being with a trans woman.
Absolutely. You know, and Jonathan just now says, what's passable is subjective to the eye of the beholder. And that's absolutely true, too.
That's a really good point.
What you would consider passable may not be the same as what someone else would consider passable.
Absolutely, Jonathan. And it's funny because so I'm about to get sensitive here. There's a gradation of passability heading towards non-passability where your passability no longer passes. So it's like, don't pass, don't pass, don't pass, don't pass, don't pass, starting to pass, starting to pass, starting to pass, passing. Wow, I can't tell the difference, like that. And so here in the middle, there's a point at which the passability no longer passes, going down the scale, so to speak. And so some men, like myself, find some trans women who don't pass actually quite attractive because the blend, so to speak, of male and female physical qualities has a way of appearing attractive to me.
Right.
And so so it's interesting. So that's on the trans attracted man side. And of course, I am sure that the same is true for trans attracted women. Women who are interested in trans women will have varying degrees of desire around their trans partner's passability. Now, there's another aspect of passing and the acceptability of that from the standpoint of the transgender woman. And we can say with authority, I think, that some trans women desire to pass because they feel insecure in their non-passability.
Yeah, right? That's true. I think that's true for some.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. And so in the same way that the trans-attracted man might feel insecure as to his position in society relative to who he's dating, the trans woman can feel the same type of insecurity relative to who she shows up as in society. Right? So now we're not trying to play the pain Olympics here. When I say, is there a difference between the insecurities? On one hand, you have the trans-attracted man who is insecure, and because of that, he seeks a trans woman who looks like a cis woman. And on the other hand, you have a trans woman who is insecure about her appearance, and so she seeks to pass to kind of solve that insecurity. Are the two insecurities the same?
No, they're different.
That's right, they're different.
They may meet on the same level.
Yes.
But they're different things altogether.
Yes.
You know.
And explain that difference.
So the level on which you guys, two individuals are meeting on their insecurities, where just as we talk about, like, you know, when you have your story right and you meet that person that meets you on that level, as you get your level right, you start to meet people at that level. But when you're down here, you're going to meet people down here. And it's going to be different people of different types. So all of your levels are different.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean they still don't match up on I guess there's a scale or
that's
a
absolutely
weight
right.
I'm trying to
yes,
put there.
That's right. That's right. And so it's interesting because from our perspective here at the Transamorous Network, well, hi, Robin. Welcome to the show. It's been a while since I've seen you here. Robin and I have some history in the sense that we get a little titty-tatty back and forth with each other about our posts. So welcome to the show. Good to see you. So with regard to the stories, it is possible for a trans woman who is insecure with her appearance to actually develop stories that allows her to find more security in her appearance. And we'll get to that in a second. And as a result of finding that security in her appearance, even though she doesn't pass, meet a guy who also is secure about himself relative to being with a trans woman who doesn't pass. So I want to say that again, if you would pay attention, because I want you to say in simple language what I just said, because it was kind of confusing.
Okay, let's try that again.
All right. So a trans woman who is insecure about her appearance because she doesn't pass can tell stories about herself that enables her to soothe her insecurity about her appearance. And in the soothing of her insecurity of her appearance, which means by definition that she becomes more secure about her non-passing appearance, she will meet a man who has also done the work around his insecurity and so is comfortable being with a trans woman who doesn't pass.
I mean, again, that's also a stage or a potential stage too. Just because you aren't passing now or today doesn't mean you may not pass tomorrow. And again, the gentlemen keep talking, the boys are talking about subjectivity, you know. I may not pass to you, but I've passed to everyone else.
Good point.
You know what I mean? It's like, for me personally, I go out in the streets all the time, and when I'm out in the world, most of the world observes me and sees a cis woman. I'm passable.
Yeah, my brother felt that way.
But I've been clocked before. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So obviously it's not... It's 100%
objective.
Objective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I can see where most of society will believe a trans woman passes, but because of a trans attracted guy's insecurity, he might see that trans woman knowing she's trans and not feel she passes.
Right. He might only see the things that are imperfections.
Yes.
You know, he might only see the fact that her hands are bigger or she has a little bit of an Adam's apple. You know, he might have troubles looking past those things because he thinks that's what everyone else is looking at.
Well, see, and that's the story, right?
That's what it is. It's what does everyone else think?
Yes, so everyone else is not seeing the things that the guy who is sensitive to her not passing is seeing. Because of the story that he has, oh, my girlfriend doesn't pass, he sees all the things about her. Now the story, my girlfriend doesn't pass, is not real relative to her passing because all of society is seeing her pass. It's only reflecting, his story is reflecting his insecurity about being with a trans woman. So when he looks at his partner, his trans partner, and all he can see because he has this insecurity about himself are her big hands and maybe a little bit of residue from her, what's that called? Electrolysis. Yeah, those kind of things. Whereas when they're out in society doesn't see those things.
Right.
They just see her as a woman.
Right.
And so it's very interesting, isn't it, how that works that way? Let's grab some comments.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
Great.
Let's see. Let's go back up here.
Society.
Oh, look, your turn this time.
Yeah, it is.
Kendra says, I want to and mostly do, quote, pass. Mari says, definitely subjective. Some, quote, passable trans women don't believe they are passable.
Oh my gosh, that is another thing.
That's another thing.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Who said that?
Mari.
Mari, that's an excellent comment. It's so true. In fact, there have been, where is that? I think it was on FetLife. I used to be on FetLife. And there was this game that trans women would play where they would post a picture and say passable or not passable. And it's
never played.
Right? It's just like an example of what Mari said, is that even some trans women who pass have an insecurity about their passability, and as a result of that, they can't see themselves as passing, even though they are.
Well, there are moments, maybe, okay, getting real personal for a second.
Okay, go get personal.
You know, I was talking to Kendall about this yesterday. There are times when I look in the mirror and I still see the face I've always had.
Mm-hmm. And so
that reminds me of the person I once, the person I have always been, but once was, and the life I lived, and how does that relate to now, right?
I see, yeah.
I can see those parts then, now.
Yes, I see.
Right? Not that I'm thinking of lots of the things, but those might be the type of things that someone would then get facial feminization surgery for.
Right. Wow.
Right?
Yeah, I get that.
Because it's not only what the world sees, but it's how you're seeing yourself in the mirror as well.
Correct. And how you're seeing yourself through the eyes of other people, even though you're not seeing it through the eyes of other people, you're seeing it through your own eyes.
Your own
perception of what other people
what you think they're perceiving.
Yes. And this is so interesting because and we're not talking about this topic in order to attack anyone or to blame anyone. We think it's just a topic that needs to be talked about.
I think a viewer asked us to bring up this topic, and I think it actually is a really good topic.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And we're hoping to do it in a way that we're not trying to trigger anybody. We're bringing that back up. Tonight's conversation could be very triggering, so we hope our intention is not to trigger anyone, but we want to have a conversation about this because it's a big part of a lot of people's story.
It is. It really
on
is.
both sides,
yes.
Both the trans attracted man and the trans woman.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
allow me to get a little broader on this topic, and we'll get back to the comments in a second. There is a possibility, a societal possibility, where we could have a world where people who don't pass are accepted, even though they don't fit into the gender expectations about what it means to look like a woman versus what it means to look like a man. And I know that society is coming. For example, there's a woman who works at a local radio station who has a full-on beard. And she apparently is totally okay with that. And so she has this physical presentation that certainly is not feminine, but from all intents and purposes that I can tell, she is very much accepted in her sphere of influence. So there is a possibility where we could have a world where trans people don't necessarily need to get facial feminization in order to pass. Now, I know that many trans women get facial feminization not because they're wanting to pass, but because in their own psychology, they're wanting to see themselves in the mirror as they see themselves internally.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, so it's how, it can be it can be separately or a combination of how you see yourself, how other people see you, and how you perceive other people are perceiving you.
Well said, Remy. Well said. What are some other comments?
My thing shut off for a quick second, so I had to go back, and so I lost quite a few comments.
Here, read off right here.
Right.
Let's grab Robin.
I don't know how.
Okay, it's okay. I'll do it. So Robin just said, "I will express an insecurity only to have the guy I'm with tell me I am imagining it. We are often the last." Sorry, we lost it. We are often the last person to accept our passing. No one pays as much attention to my tells than I do. That's the point, right?
Yeah.
Where did that comment go? Because I want to like that comment. There. Yeah, Robin, you're absolutely right. Go ahead.
Go down a little bit. There's a lot of comments.
Oh, there are a lot of comments. Wow. Great. Wow. Okay.
Now back up a little bit.
Yep. Just 1 second, guys. I'm working it.
Let's start there.
Okay. So Troy says, many of my longtime friends have asked if my ex-wife was trans simply because I've dated trans women. Like Jonathan said, passability is subjective. Yeah, that's really interesting.
And he's referring to his cisgendered ex-wife.
I get that, yeah. There was a woman that I met, a cis woman that I met in a gay bar who I thought was trans.
He says, the question is, what does a cis woman look like? The gospel singer Yolanda Adams is cis, but...
I don't know who Yolanda Adams is, but...
She carries some features that could be perceived as...
As masculine?
Potentially.
Okay. So she looks... I was gonna.
Right?
Can I say?
So,
I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. What I was gonna say.
I was gonna
say. I'm gonna say what I was gonna say, but I know that this is a ignorant statement on my part when I say it. But this is a real show, and we're trying to be real, right? So I was gonna say that she looks transgender.
Potentially.
Yeah.
I mean, just like some people say, like, Wendy Williams.
God, I don't know these people. Who's Wendy Williams?
Oh my God.
Troy, don't get on my case. I don't know Wendy Williams. I'm sorry. But yeah, so it's let's go on with the comments.
So yeah, let's go on with the comments.
Okay.
Jonathan.
Okay, so Jonathan said, I said this week when you brought up the topic.
Last week.
I said this last week. So I feel that any woman I find attractive and are drawn to as passable, if we must use that term.
So if he's attracted to them, then they're passable because he's attracted to women.
Oh, that's a deep perspective. Okay. So Jonathan, I have a question about that. If you find this is interesting to unpack. If you find a trans woman is passable to you because you're attracted to them, but that person doesn't pass by society standards, is that possible, or is it, or do you think that because your attraction standards are such that any trans woman that you'd be attracted to would by definition pass? I'm interested to hear your perspective on that.
David says, someone in the group also said this. To me, attraction and passable are not always the same. I have seen trans girls who pass well as cis women, but are not attractive to me, and vice versa. Those who I am not sure passes to most, but I am attracted, that he's attracted to. So I find that's a lovely comment, too.
Yeah, exactly. So I need to read it again because it kind of...
Again, it gets into... perspective and subjectivity.
Yes.
Of just because a trans woman passes for a cis woman doesn't mean that you're still attracted to her. Just like you're not attracted to
blondes or brunettes
or every woman or every man.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm not. I know I'm not.
Exactly. That's a really good point, David. And then Robin says, hi, thanks, titty tatty indeed. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so Jonathan and Troy are agreeing with each other. That's awesome. Robin says, there's nothing better than being out with a secure trans-attracted man. Robin,
Amen.
if you wouldn't mind, give us some perspective on that. How many trans-attracted men who were secure have you been out with? I'm curious. Because from my perspective, you're quite attractive. And so I would imagine you get that kind of attention a lot. So I'd love to hear some of your stories.
Mara says, I didn't think I was passable when I started passing. And that goes into our own feelings about ourselves.
And what Robin said about that.
And what society, right? Because if society is seeing us as passable, but we're still not seeing that, there's that disconnect. Or whatever.
Yep. And then Kendra Ferguson says, we all have insecurities. I have my moments when I think, oh my God, people are going to know. Yes.
I have those moments, and who gives a damn?
Well, exactly.
And that's the second thought that comes into my mind, but you know.
Yep. Jonathan writes a long one. It's funny how many of my male friends who knew my trans friends had no idea they were trans until I told them, and when were cool with it. My trans friends thought the guys knew they were trans when in actuality they did not. They just saw women because of their character. Yeah, I mean, attitude is like 90% of the fight, right? If you come, whether you pass or not, if you come with an attitude of like, F you, I don't care what you think, or I'm all that, you know, people aren't going to really confront your...
If you just are the woman that you are, people will pick up the energy that you put down.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what it is.
And same with the trans-attracted man. How did you just put it? How did you just say it? It was so good. If a trans-attracted man can just be out about who he is and just own that shit and not worry about what other people think about him, other people will toe that line. They will be like, oh, so what? He's trans-attracted. Like that. But if you're walking around with a chip on an insecurity chip on your shoulder because you're attracted to trans women, people pick up on that. And that's not some special thing about the story theory that we talk about. That's just human nature. We're animals, and animals pick up on those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Troy said trigger warrant. Troy's throwing out triggers. But sometimes trans women go too far with surgery and look more animated. So
does a lot of cis women. A lot of people, period.
True. That's true.
Go way too far with plastic surgery.
Especially Joan Rivers. Did I say that?
One of many.
Yes, one of many. So, let's talk about this because Troy brings up a really, really good point. There are many, I'm not going to say a lot, but many trans women who go way too far. And some of that, I presume, is about trying to pass, but I think some of that is maybe pathological. Like when they get to the point where their cheeks are like out to here and their lips look like duckbill platypuses and their hips are like 3 times bigger than any human being's hips I've ever seen. You know, they put those injections in. Mm-hmm. It's like, what's that about?
I don't know.
I don't get what that's about.
It goes into a conversation we had in a previous show, too, about what a health concern it could be and how many people have died from getting, going underground surgeries and not being able to stop and just getting more and more horrible things.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of like tattoos. Once you start that process, it's really hard to back off of it. I mean, Troy, you have some experience with these women. Tell us, why is it that these women go that far? I just don't understand it. Okay, so Troy says, wait a minute. Robin had another really good comment, it looks like. We already read that one. Sorry, Robin, we already read it. Troy says, with my ex, no one believes she was trans. No one believes she was trans. She had 0 surgeries. And then Kendra says, thank God for
estradiol.
What is that?
Estrogen.
Oh, okay, great. And then Troy says again, I think I'm a bit chubby. It's like, I think I'm a bit chubby. I don't really get that comment, Troy.
It must have been a response to something that was said at the moment.
Okay. And Jonathan's shaking his head at me. That's okay. He does that all the time.
Hi, Tier. Welcome.
Tier, welcome to the show. Jonathan says, I'm comfortable with who I am, so if I'm attracted to her, I obviously have no problem with other people perceived opinions. I like her, I'm attracted to her, then that is all that matters, and her feelings towards herself. Totally agree with that. Robin adds, my test for dating is having dinner in a busy restaurant. Show me you are secure and I'm good. That's a really, really good test.
And very common.
Very common.
It's just a matter of getting them to the dinner table sometimes.
Exactly. In my opinion, that's the best first date, is having your potentially trans-attracted guy show up at a public restaurant, meeting you there instead of someplace like a coffee shop or something.
No, damn right.
Yep. Robin also says, obsessing over passability is a way of keeping... You can keep our... Something happened there. I don't get that comment. Kendra says, I have not met any guys or dated since I transitioned. Hard to find a man who even wants to date. So far, they're all about hooking up.
You get there, girl.
Exactly. Thank you so much for...
Tell the right story. You'll get there.
Tell the right
I
stories.
promise.
Yep. Here, Cole. So Mari is responding to our comment about women who go too far. Going too far is your opinion. No one else gets to decide what alleviating dysphoria looks like. That's a really good point. She's putting me in my place. Good point. At the same time, everyone has their perspective. And so for me, and I get the dysphoria argument. For me, it just feels sad. Like the guy who used to, the guy who sings that song, "You spin me right round, baby, right." That guy ended up being trans, I think. And he had these surgeries. And his surgery, he's had so many, or she, I don't know if he's actually, if the person's actually transgender or not. But this person has had a ton of surgeries. And now it's just sad to see what the person looks like. And so I get your point, Mari. And for me, I just think that it's just sad that someone has to go so far to get those kind of procedures in order to feel better about themselves. When to a large degree, in our opinion, it's being driven by a bunch of stories. Mm-hmm. So that may be hard to accept. Again, this show is full of triggers tonight. So, all right, let's move on. So, Joan Rivers, it's 2017.
Oh, she said, no, that was her point. Not passing is not the same thing as dysphoria.
Yes. Tierra says, some of the modifications are the result of peer influence.
That's true, too.
Really?
I think we talked about this. Was it us last week that talked about this? People feeling like, I need the surgery because everyone around me tells me I need the surgery.
We did talk about that, yes.
Right?
Yes.
My trans mother told me that the only way to be a real woman is to have fish. You know, I mean, all of these things get said.
Got it. Robin's commenting a lot. So Robin says, obsessing over passability is a way of staying hidden. If I pass, would you still tell a close friend I was trans? I may pass and have facial feminization surgery, but I'm still openly trans, so no hiding. I love that perspective.
Right.
That's an excellent perspective. Folks are making fun of my age. Tierra says late.
We're in the middle of it, baby.
Tierra says late to the party. I see. Yeah. Yes, we have talked about passability and attractiveness.
Versus attractiveness.
Versus attract. So yeah. So let's talk about that for a bit.
Yeah.
So some people believe, and this is legitimate, I think. Some people believe that passing is equivalent to attractiveness.
And well, we did talk about this a minute ago, because just because you're passable doesn't mean I find you attractive.
That's right.
So again, the whole subjective thing.
Yep. I remember dating a trans, and this is going to go back to my ignorant comment, Murray, so don't jump on me too hard. But I remember dating a trans woman long ago who wanted facial feminization surgery. I felt she was beautiful the way she was. And she just didn't want to hear that from me. She would not, and I wasn't trying to get her to not have the surgery. It was just a bone of contention that I felt that I had, that my attraction accepted her as she was, and I think she wanted me to accept her for how she was going to be and not accept her for who she was. So it was a really interesting dynamic, and this points to what Tierra is saying about attraction versus passability. For me, it didn't matter that she did not pass for other people. For me, she was attractive. So interesting.
Okay, so when I was working at the Velvet Rope, and I was working at the VR, which is an adult sex club, a sex positive social club, and they at one point had trans nights and stuff like that, and there were times where I was passed over by someone for someone I perceived as less passable.
Oh, interesting.
And it was actually, in my opinion, rather common in that setting.
Really?
And I don't know where the difference of the dark club makes a difference, or you know what I'm saying, if it's because we're in a shady place with shady people idea that we've talked about before.
Yeah.
Right? Hiding in the shadows. I don't know.
Is it possible that they didn't know you were trans?
I guess it's possible.
Interesting. Wow, that's an interesting situation. Huh. And it is interesting to speculate why that happened.
And I mean, I witnessed it happen to other trans girls like myself, you know.
Really?
Being passed over for someone who would be perceived less passable by the general public.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Carson, we haven't heard a comment from Carson yet.
Hey, Carson.
Carson says, I get it. It's why I'm having trouble reading.
I know, I see. It's why I don't get it. When I explain I accept both he and she. The only box I have is transgender, though it doesn't fully resonate with me. I pass for both. Yes, you do, my brother.
That's so interesting. That's so interesting. I would love to meet you, Carson, in person. Maybe it'd be nice to have you on the show. Not this show, but the YouTube show. I'm being told that Pete Burns is dead.
I don't. Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, she said he's actually dead now. I did not know that. Rest in peace, Pete. Okay, let's move on. Troy says, I know a few trans women who pass easily, but they aren't my type. I'm like, meh. Interesting. There's a perfect example of what you said. Thank you, Mari. I didn't think you were jumping on me. I was just kind of teasing. Jonathan says...
We need the devil's advocate.
We do, actually. Jonathan says, I think passability versus attractiveness is something some cis women wrestle with because of jealousy and insecurity with trans women. So let's, I often wonder if cis women, if part of the reason why some cis women are up in arms about trans women is because of this, what I perceive Jonathan saying about the threat, feeling threatened and jealous. I wonder if there is a component of perception among cis women who see trans women as potentially taking their men in the same way that some African American women see white women as taking their men when a white woman is with a black man. I wonder if there's anything to that.
Maybe. I would imagine there has got to be some psychology in there on some of that.
I think there might be. There are a couple of sites, and I read a couple of articles where trans women and other people are talking about the advantages of dating a trans woman. And I'm not going to go into the reasons because some of them are crude, but it's interesting because as far as I'm concerned as a trans attracted man, there are very strong advantages to being with a trans woman, some of which Nikki's husband
William
Lloyd.
Every time.
I know. And some of the other long-term partners of trans women have illustrated about their strength and their boldness and their confidence and things like that.
I believe Tier was talking about that in his interview.
That's right. Tier was. And so
Troy said it repeatedly.
That's right. And so this aspect of trans women, I think, can be perceived as a threat by cis women if it becomes more prominent. Although I don't perceive it as being that prominent in the discussions. What's up?
Mari says, us passable women will never pass for some men. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, let's talk about it. What do you mean?
Are you referring to the fact that because we're trans, no matter how much we pass, it doesn't make a difference? That I'm attracted to her, but the moment they find out you're trans, all of a sudden you're no longer attracted.
Which is interesting because I don't think that is a characteristic of passing or not passing. Because the most beautiful trans woman in the world might cause a guy to be attracted to her, but if the guy is kicking her to the curb because she's transgender, that doesn't mean he's kicking her to the curb because she didn't pass.
But it has to relate to the passability of him seeing a cis woman, seeing a woman, and then that changing, his perception changing about what he sees in his... He no longer sees the cis woman he saw. Now his mind has switched to man in a dress, maybe?
I don't understand that. Can you say it differently? Because I don't... So he sees... He's with a trans woman who passes because she's beautiful.
He's at the bar. He sees a woman. He hits on her.
Yes.
Because she's gorgeous. He's attracted to her. Right. And then he finds out she's transgender.
And so his mind goes, mind goes, man in a dress. I see.
Or whatever.
Yeah. So that, I don't think that's an issue of passing or not passing, because obviously she passed because he was attracted to her when the moment struck. It's only when he found out that she was trans that he said, no, not interested.
Right. But it's a problem that passable trans women experience.
100% agree with that. 100% agree with that.
know for a fact.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a thing.
It is a thing, and in those cases, as we know, there are trans women out there who pass like 100%, like Mari, for example, and you're not going to get a guy who doesn't want to date you because you're trans to date you, no matter how much you pass.
No, and I think maybe that's what she's saying.
Yeah. And so those guys aren't worth your time, really. There are so many guys out there who will date you, 1, because you're trans, 2, because they're attracted to you, 3, because they don't care that you're trans, 4, because they do care that you're trans and are attracted to that, 5, because they love you for who you are, 6, because you're talented, all those other good reasons for just wanting to be with you. So why spend time with a guy who's not going to want to be with you because you're trans? Why even spend any time getting upset about that? That doesn't make any sense at all to me.
Why waste any time on him, period?
Exactly.
That's why, when I was dating, the first thing, if a guy hit on me, do you realize I'm trans?
Exactly.
No? Are we good or not good?
Exactly.
Not good? All right, good to know. You have a good life. Pieces.
Exactly. Okay, so...
we've had lots of comments. I don't know where we got
I know
lost some in there.
So let's see. Let's scroll back to here. Cis women aren't jealous of trans women, huh? Cis women aren't jealous of trans women. Heh. Oh, interesting.
It was cis women aren't jealous of trans women. Ha!
Oh, I get it. Yes.
Sarcasm.
Yeah. Thank you. Tira says, from my experience, the real as rain don't necessarily have a glam look because women don't glam to go to Walmart. I totally agree with that. Yes, I totally agree with that. And this is one of the advantages that some trans attracted men say about being with a trans woman is that they tend to go, some of them, I want to be careful because my friend Robin is watching. Some trans women, not all trans women, but some trans women, they go the extra mile in their appearance. And some trans attracted men like that. But the trans women who tend to pass really easily don't do all that. They're just themselves, just like a cis woman would be. And so you're not going to see this super dolled up woman all the time. They're going to just be who they are because they're just accepted themselves. And if you don't like it, tough shit kind of a thing.
Except for these days, all these young millennial bitches are all dolled up all the time. Just saying.
Okay. So,
even at Walmart. Because they're trying to make their next baby daddy.
Exactly. Okay, so Robin says, I did love some of the masculine femme mix, but I think it's still there in other ways. I get that, Robin. Robin's asking Mari to say more about something. David says 100% mental block for them, Perry. They can't get past. They are not what they thought, and their opinion of trans women is low. That's a good point. That's meeting them in a bar example.
Right.
Yep,
I know.
Yep. Okay. There's a whole bunch of compliments going on. Oh, Tamar's here. Hi, Tamar. Nice to see you. She says, "Sigh. Time to forget him. Then he wants me, but he won't step over that line he sees." Yeah, that's the challenge.
Peace out, bruh.
Exactly.
Deuces.
Kick him to the curb.
Make room for someone else.
Exactly. Lots of good comments going on.
A super attractive woman gets more security in general.
Yeah, whether you're trans or cis.
Right.
It's absolutely true. I think so. I think a trans woman. This is just my opinion, folks. I think a trans woman who has a harder time passing will tend to have more character, more chutzpah, more confidence, more security than one who can rely on her looks to pass, can rely on her looks to succeed. Just like some cis women, super beautiful cis women have the potential of riding on their beauty and thereby not necessarily having to cultivate character, fortitude, strength of personality, the kind of things that are intangible that last well beyond when you start losing your looks. And so that's one of the things I find attractive about a trans woman who doesn't necessarily 100% pass like stealthy pass. So Jonathan says, Troy, are they...
Hold on, I wanted to read out a question that I think it was Robin, asked. Question for the men. Have you ever been with a less than passable trans woman?
Yeah, so...
Have you ever dated or whatever?
Yeah, and I know that at least, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the trans women that I've dated have all been less than passable. And as I said, with the one who went to get facial feminization surgery, I was very attracted to her as she was, even though she did not pass. A couple of the other trans women I was with, I saw potential for passing. And so, and see, this is one of the other things I wanted to bring up was, I heard from a trans woman actually, early in her transition, complain about men who do not recognize the potential a trans woman has for passing once she gets further along in her transition. And as a result of that, because he doesn't see the potential, will not give her any time. And so I think that there's some value to that comment. It's like, kind of like I wrote Ugly Duckling in some of our promotion. It's like there's this potential a trans woman can have when she's still presenting as male, that if you can get past the presenting as male part, you could see a beautiful trans woman coming out of that person eventually. And is
learning to see the woman she is inside.
Exactly, Remy. And so,
trusting that over time will show on the outside.
Yes, exactly. And there are a lot of cases of that, of trans women, especially the prominent or celebrity type trans women who perfectly demonstrate that. What? Throw out that comment, girl.
No, I'm just laughing at Mari, laughing at me.
Oh, yeah. Millennial bitches. Robin says, it's true, some of the prettiest trans girls are the most insecure. Yeah, and some of the prettiest cis women are the same way, actually.
Absolutely.
Very, very, very insecure people. There's actually an epidemic of low self-esteem among the human population around the world. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. Anyway, it's been a great show, hasn't it? We've gone 45 minutes. Should we end on a high note?
Conversation, it seems to be.
What's that?
Was there anything else? Any other comments that anyone had to throw out there? I mean, we're doing such a good conversation.
We don't have to end. I mean, is there anything else that you guys want to talk about this topic? Obviously, it was a worthwhile topic, and I'm glad we had it.
Mm-hmm.
If you have any suggestions about topics that you'd like to talk about, we'd be happy to entertain the idea on this show or in...
Yes, that's so true, Samaya. Hi, Samaya.
Samaya's here?
Yeah.
Samaya, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you could make it.
Carson said, wait.
Oh, okay, we're not going anywhere. Samaya, welcome to the show. Yes, I totally agree with that. Pretty boys make pretty women. Pretty isn't specific to gender. I saw a guy on the bus yesterday.
Did you clean your glasses before the show?
It's not my glasses. Problem? I think it's my stigmatism. I saw a guy on the bus the other day who is a model for Adidas, and he had on mascara and makeup, and he was the prettiest looking boy I have ever seen. And I thought to myself, if that man decides to transition someday, he is going to be a beautiful person.
So okay, we recently hired a group of new people at work,
mm-hmm.
and my boss came and told me, and she was like, so just,
speak a little louder. So
we're talking, just wanted to let you know that we've hired this young trans man, and just was hoping that maybe you could just, kind of make him feel comfortable, kind of thing is the way they talked to me about it, basically. And so the first day that I get to see all the new people coming in, this beautiful thing comes down the thing.
Uh-huh.
Because she was like, he's presenting, still looking like a girl, basically is what she was.
I see.
Basically, better words, but basically what she was trying to say. And so I thought this beautiful thing, and I was like, well, damn, yes, he is beautiful. Yeah, he is presenting like a girl. Not who it was, not
it wasn't the person.
It was this beautiful cis boy.
It was a boy?
Cis boy, gorgeous thing that they hired. And then it turns out that the trans person took a job somewhere else. So, yeah, totally flew. Like, I was waiting for this beautiful boy to come in. And so this beautiful boy comes in, and it was not who I was expecting. It was actually a cis beautiful boy. It was just a funny moment. I was like, oh, not who I thought you were. But you're fabulous.
Funny. Oh. Carson says, why do we have so hard and fast rules of pass or not? This indicates there is a specific box to fit in for a reason instead of changing the definition of woman. I agree with you, Carson, and I think we're heading in that direction. I think we are, slowly but surely. But for sure, the whole passability, as much, now trans women don't get triggered on this. As much as everyone is focusing on passing, the idea of passing as a cis woman is part of the problem that Carson is pointing out here.
Absolutely.
The fact that you feel you have to pass as a cis woman is buying into the, what's it called, the heteronormative story about what it means to be a woman and what it means to be a man. I think that's a problem. I agree with you, Carson.
Well, and I think we've just, in this conversation, started to prove that there are no hard and fast rules to it. It's all subjective to the individuals that are involved.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree.
It's the beholder and the eyes.
Yeah,
you know?
I like that saying. The beholder and the eyes. Unfortunately, and everyone's a beholder at one point or another, which is why we get people in society freaking out when their paradigm gets blown out when they see a person who is androgynous or someone who is wearing a dress but appears to be a male to that person, or vice versa. So, and I think that dynamic, Carson, is the dynamic that is moving us toward the idealized society that you're talking about. The dynamic where people's mind get blown when they see a person who looks like a man wearing a dress who is not transgender. Someone who just wants to break those stereotypes. And so he, a man, dresses in dresses for that reason.
Or for their own comfort.
Yeah. Very good. Very good conversation tonight. Very, very good. Oh, Troy's telling me not to use heteronormative. I have two
And somebody says cis-normative?
Why not use heteronormative? I need some education there. Is there a problem with that word? I didn't know there was a problem with that word.
Oh, there's a problem with every word.
He says one of them is trans attracted, so are we normal, or is he? Oh, I see. Yeah, Troy has brought this up before. Mm-hmm. There is no heteronormative. What is normal? There is no normal. And so it's a really good point. And so, wow, that's actually a good note to end the show on. It's like,
I think so.
There is no normal. And so let's just accept people for who they are and where they are. And more importantly, let's accept ourselves for who we are and where we are.
And where we are at that moment.
Yes. I love you, Remy.
I love you too, Barry.
Love you too, guys and gals.
See you next week.
See you next week.